Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are live here for Formula 7 racing in Tier 1 for a sprint race around Belgium. I am your commentator and I am joined by a very special guest, one of my many co-commentators. Well, actually, I've not had that many, but one of my greatest co-commentators over at PSGL when we were doing PSF2. Harry, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Greatest is probably a massive overstatement, but it's great to actually be back in a commentary box with you once more.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be a great race.
Well, we've had some great races in the past over at PSGL, so I'm hoping we can have one here at F7R.
Yeah. Oh, it was amazing in PSGL or whatever. And then even the race earlier was hectic with the mixed weather conditions, crashes galore.
Yes.
And now a few drivers have actually gone from that race straight into this one. I think it's deadly in the Williams, but hopefully it will be just as competitive out there today. As quite a few cars are starting their first lap, one of which Jeffy Boy in the Williams heading up towards Blanchimont and Corporal Freya now, which is, if you are that unaware, the final sector. And then through the DRS detection point, usually it's a second between you and car ahead. That's completely out the window for qualifying. It's up to the start-finish line now. For Jeffy Boy, what will it be? It'll be a 42.6 as a banker lap.
Great lap there from Jeffy Boy, just a banker on the board. Sorry, I am just, it's Thomas NY in the Aston Martin. It's his debut race today. So I just need to add him into the system because he's never raced before. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do on his debut.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. Aston Martin kind of need it. They're 7 points clear of Haas in their fight for 8th, 13 behind McLaren. If it all goes well with Pro Ultra and Thomas alongside each other, they could maybe see themselves try and jump up 1 or 2 places in the standings, as Epic has jumped straight up to the top with a massive lap, 1.4 seconds clear of anyone else. That drops to half a second as Mirko went quicker but deadly, hoping to do a deadly lap here and take it up to the top. What will it be? It'll only be 6th fastest to 49.0. Really was not competitive whatsoever.
No, he'll be looking to improve there. So deadly with not a very good lap. Thomas NY on his debut with a 143.3. Epic OJ, who is fighting for the Drivers' Championship, will be looking at getting some points on the board in front of his competitor of Reese Dye. Reese Dye in the Racing Bull is actually on a lap at the moment, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do as he comes down towards Buhon. We know that Epic OJ and Reese were separated by 1/1000th of a second in one of the races. They were dead even, and they were separated by just a singular point last week. That has now changed. This is how close this championship is.
It's insanely close. Just looking at the standings for the first time, it's a purple middle sector for Reese, continuing that momentum on. However, the game doesn't truly know who is in fact quickest until everyone's set it. So we're kind of going in blindly in the hope that it is telling the truth and he is in fact fastest. He's entering the final 2 corners now, 2 crucial traction zones. If it goes wrong, it could be lap over, maybe even session over with that wall on the left up to the line, and it will be second fastest. 3/10 off Epic so far.
Yeah, so Epic OJ did set the fastest sector 1. You are right, Harry. Reese did set the fastest sector 2. And be right at the moment, our 4-time Tier 1 World Champion set the fastest sector 3 time. And he is up to P4 at the moment. We've got 6 drivers now into the 141s as Deadly does improve and goes up to P2 at 141.566. So a great lap from him. You have Pro Ultra in the Aston Martin coming through Blanchimont. You've got Aspect just in front of him going in towards the bus stop chicane. I'm not sure if he's actually on a flyer at the moment. Into the right, no, into the pit lane he goes, and then Pro Ultra in the Aston Martin invalidates, and he will follow him into the pit lane. And Gravangan in the Mercedes still in the pits. He is from the tier below, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do.
Yeah, it definitely will be. as I'm pretty sure that is your first set of runs done. Jeffy Boy, in fact, is actually finding 2 temps in the first 2 sectors, according to what I've got. Will the Williams enter the pits? No, he won't. He's going to pursue the end of the lap with minimal battery left to spare over the line. It's quick enough to push himself up into that top 10. And then you have the Red Bull of Ivan up next, who's entering the pits, most likely with low fuel. Same with Tincto, and I believe same is said with Reese. So yeah, that is definitely the first set of runs done in this sprint qualifying session, and almost everyone will be trying to come back out in the next few moments to see whether or not they can take pole position for the first of 2 races today.
Yeah, you're right, and we can see as well, just on the broadcast, the viewers can see in the top right, look at the weather conditions. It's light cloud for 5 minutes, it's light cloud for 10 minutes, it is a 90% chance of a storm in 15 minutes. I do apologise, you cannot see my overlays because I've used the wrong screen. bear with me. Oh.
I was gonna say I can't see that. I'll try and stick like a weather pole up there to actually get the readings.
I've been bringing up the overlays and everything. Nobody's been able to see them. Oh god! So yes, you can see the weather in the top right. A storm is due in 15 minutes. That means we might get a little bit of rain in the sprint race, Harry. That should throw it into the air a little bit.
Yeah, that will definitely spice things up. But then these races today have not been afraid of any rain whatsoever. I'm pretty sure there were 2 transition points in the tier 4 race at about 3 o'clock. That just shows how bipolar the weather is. Here in Spa is probably the best way to phrase it. And one driver hoping to weather the storm is in fact storm themselves. They're currently 13th on a push. It's been a mediocre first sector so far, heading down towards Bruxelles and then towards what's known as Speaker's Corner, or Corner with no name, just shimmying across the apex straight up to that white line and back on the throttle, down towards Huon. Very easy to invalidate a lap, and they have. Such a shame for Storms.
Yeah, real shame there. He was on a half decent lap. He was doing well. We know that he rides in the tier below, does XD Storms. He's took a step up to reserve here today, and he was looking half competitive there until he invalidated it. We've got every single driver on and out lap, barring Jeffy Boy at the moment, and it will be the 2 Ferraris. We know how good Sander is. He's already got a pole position this season, and now he's going to bid to try and get a second. So Epic OJ currently on pole position. We ride on board with Sander in the Ferrari as we head up towards a Rouge and down the Kemmel Straight. So up the hill we go, on board with the Ferrari. You can see him burning the battery straight away as he's halfway up, down the Kemmel Straight. DRS enabled, that rear wing wide open for the Scuderia as we go in towards Les Combs. And he just taking a wide line and just dives into there. And it's the fastest Sector 1 time of anybody so far for Sander, who has gone. Oh, Pulse Luxury takes it away. So Pulse Luxury is now fastest in Sector 1. We've got them in the bottom left if you want to keep an eye on them. Pulse Luxury now fastest through Sector 1. Reese still fastest through Sector 2. The driver's putting everything on the line now, Harry.
Yeah, it's completely flat out. Everyone hopefully on the soft if they do have that available, if not on the mediums. But for the sake of Sander, who's about to end the middle sector, throwing it in through the Faj chicane, and it's 1.1 improvement so far. This lap could be a lap that sees him on provisional pole. Whether or not he'll stay there is to be determined. But Sander does look quite determined in their process through Corporal Frere and Blanchemont, heavy on the brakes just after the 150 bollard, then completely flicks the wheel right and left, trying to get that car rotated back onto the power over the line, and it's a 41.1. It is provisional pole for now, but Luxury next to come round that final corner. Can the teammate take it away? No, they can't. It will only be 8th. And then you look all the way down to Storms, who's running low revs and low fuel. Probably won't set a lap. So then you go all the way to P18 of Aspect, yet to set a lap, must set a lap for some hope in the sprint race in that Red Bull around the final corner up to the start finish line, and it's a 41.0, a brilliant lap for them.
And then B right comes through, so the checkered flag has waved. It's Aspect on pole position by over a tenth of a second to B right. We've got a lot of drivers coming down towards the line. We've got a Haas driver, then a Mercedes and an Aston Martin. You've got Pro Ultra that goes to P3, then the Mercedes, he's not going to be able to improve. That is Gravangan. Then we've got Epic OJ, a 140.7, and Reese, his championship contender, can only go P2 by 0.2 of a second. That is remarkable. Deadly coming into the bus stop chicane after the two McLarens of Jinkto and Edward. Here comes Deadly, the final driver to the line. It's not pole. Epic OJ once again on the top spot here in Belgium.
Yeah, a massive qualifying session. Such an intense one. It was not easy to determine by whatsoever, but as you said, Epic on the top end of the grid with Reese lined up in seconds, the two title rivals sharing that front row once again. Then it's Aspect in third with Mirko fourth, Pro Ultra fifth, Deadly sixth, Wright in seventh, Sander eighth, Ivan ninth, Cars in 10th, then it's Abaddon, Gelland, Edward, Pulse Luxury, Tinkto, Thomas, Grovangen, Jeffy Boy, and then Storm rounding off the grid for the sprint. What on earth have I just witnessed?
Oh my god, what are these conditions here in this sprint race? Wow. So that means we've had rain in every session today. All 4 sessions there's been rain. It is very much like Belgium in real life here.
Yeah, it's going to be one hell of a race. If you know us from PSGL, this is usually my insert waffle about drivers stint. Yeah, it's going to be near enough impossible to tell what these drivers do. Because the Inters tend to be quite well in the rain, irrespective of the conditions, but then some drivers find more on the wet. So there could be a chance you see 1 or 2 on a different compound from the rest. They'll then just play as an outlier and hope to the heavens above them that the rain reduces and the tyres go back into their own at some point of this sprint, especially when they're on those intermediate compounds. But I can guarantee you it's going to be one hell of a race. I'm pretty sure it's something like 8 laps or whatever. Last time I did a 50% sprint race here.
You are absolutely right. It is 8 laps, and it's great to have you here because of how knowledgeable you are when it comes to strategies and it comes to the drivers and tyres, and we know how much knowledge you bring to the table. So it'll be really interesting to see the sort of statistics throughout the journey in the sprint race. As you said, you picked it up perfectly. The intermediates, they don't fall off that quickly here. You can do quite a long stint, but then you've just got to watch out near the end of the race if you are going for that longer stint. 8 laps will be very nice and easy, but looking for the race if it is raining as well. But yeah, should be a cracker.
Yeah, hopefully we will be underway in a moment's time. Even without it, it's just surreal looking at the variety of cars up and down the field. I think I saw something like six different constructors in the top 6.
Yeah.
And then about 8 in the top 10 as formation lap is starting. A little lap for the drivers just to get those tyres into grip, as it does look like everyone is on the Inters. I may be wrong in saying that. No, yeah, I am wrong. 4 on the full wets.
The 2 Alpines, the 2 teammates, DSQ, they're going to start with cold tyres. in wet conditions. Before we get going here, let's just have a look through the track here this evening. So we turn to Spa-Francorchamps here in Belgium. You have 3 sectors to start finish line going up towards La Source. You have 2 DRS detection zones all the way up from turn 4 to turn 7, and that huge elevation through this mountainous circuit here in Belgium. So yeah, should be a good race. And we have 3 drivers starting on cold tyres, Harry.
Yeah, what's quite awkward is you'd expect they want temps in the tyres. This is where I'm going to diminish all their hopes on getting tyre temps up. Because, funny enough, colder tyres in the rain are better, especially on the wetter compounds of tyres, just because they're meant to absorb water. They're not meant to be drying the water until the rain stops. So until that point, you're better off having the cooler tyres. Therefore, you'll be able to pick up more water throughout, better to absorb, rather than overheating them as such. That's why you usually see so many drivers go off into the wetter patches when it starts drying. You'll see the dry line form, and drivers will be searching for those wetter parts to cool those tyres down. It kind of works the exact opposite to the soft compounds and mediums and hards as such. So it'll be interesting to see how these drivers actually do their warm-up lap, as quite a few are wiggling their rear ends around, whilst others are just going and keeping a stern line, not really trying to do too many burnouts or whatever.
Yeah, so the drivers are very tactical in the way they are getting ready for this race. 19 drivers on the grid here for Tier 1. We did have a driver just drop out around 4 minutes after the race was supposed to start. But the Sauber and the Racing Bull, 1-2 in the Drivers' Championship, 1-2 on the grid here in Belgium. We've got the Aston Martin Pro Ultra just lining up all the way in towards La Source at turn 1. This is going to be extremely interesting. The other Aston Martin now coming to form up. That is Thomas on his debut. But this is going to be extra spicy going in towards La Source here in Belgium between the 2 championship contenders for round 12 for the sprint race here in Belgium for Formula 7 racing. And it's lights out, and away we go. Epic OJ didn't get the start that he wanted. Here comes Reese, but he's going to have to go around the outside in towards turn 1. He can't get the move done. The Ferrari goes up the inside. They do tag from the Red Bull. That is an Alpine in the distance. It's into the gravel. Epic OJ is clear. Then you've got Ivan, Sander, Edward, B. Wright. Pulse Luxury is through on B. Wright. He's going side by side up Peruge and has to back out on the Ferrari. Here comes Jinto. Gale in the Alpine is through on Jinto. Jeffy Boy might even try his luck as well. We are dancing in the rain, Harry.
Yeah, absolute flirting. No matter what, you can even see, I believe that's Deadly versus Mirko. A bit of contact, as it did get a bit murky between the two, getting so perilously close to colliding and becoming something more major, as there goes Deadly to the inside for Bruxelles on those full wet compounds. Probably the better tyres to start on in this sprint, just looking at how torrential the rain is. Most of those full wet runners, in fact, are actually finding places on the track. I'm pretty sure the only drivers to have found more than one place have started on those full wets so far. As you can see, cars again picking up a place on Mirko, another full wet driver going up into that top 6. That's 2 of the 4, and Sander hopefully going to continue that momentum as they go around the outside of the Haas driver. Can they hold it on into Stavlo? No, they won't. They'll have to back out and settle down for 8th place, as there's Deadly making another move on Aspect. Those full wets really in the zone here.
Yeah, you're right, Harry. You absolutely called it with the full wets, and they are the prime tyre to be on at the moment. So Deadly and cars on them full wets are through. The intermediate drivers are just struggling at the moment, and I'm wondering if it's going to calm down at any point in this race. Here comes Sander up the inside of Ivan in the Red Bull and Mirko in the Haas. They now go side by side as they head up towards La Source. And literally, when we say head up, we mean head up the circuit. The elevations around here are spectacular. There goes Aspect on Mirko, and the Haas driver back down. Here comes Jeffy Boy on Gale. They are now dueling as we head towards Rouge, and up the hill we go. Who's going to be the last of the late breakers? Absolutely none of them. There goes Sandra and Mirko down the Kemmel straight. Are they going to attack the Red Bull whilst they're at it? The Ferrari has just got his nose ahead and backs out, does the Italian of Mirko.
Yeah, just a shame for the Haas. They did such a good job in qualifying, and then it all just falls apart when those drivers had to make the choice, full wets or inters. Majority went for the inters, as you can of course see, but those on full wets currently getting the better of the possible race strategies, even saying it should be full wets to the end, full stop. So it's going to be interesting to see how it does end up unravelling. As you can see, Sander putting the pressure on the Red Bull of Aspect. Hopefully we could see another move in the early doors of this sprint race, as there I believe was Jeffy Boy slotting down the inside of Edward through Pruon and now into the Fage chicane. No action going through there as such. Then you just follow the track round nice and easily, almost like a bus route. You go through Stablo, Corporal Frere, Blanchimont, and then the bus stop chicane itself, and then you just restart that route for another 6 laps, and that's the sprint done for you. Not too much to overthink, but some drivers usually do like to get that strategy side kick into overdrive as those
definitely.
full wets are playing a role.
Yeah, you're right, Harry. The full wets are definitely the tyre. And Deadly setting the fastest lap, 2 minutes a lap at the moment. We go on to the 3rd lap. It feels like an eternity. It's such a long circuit here in Belgium, especially when it's raining. Epic OJ is still leading. Let's have a look at the reaction times of the drivers. So 15.98 for Epic OJ and 16.18 for Reese. So they were quicker, was the Sauber on his reaction time. So that's why he was able to fend him off down in towards turn 1. That is a penalty for Pulse Luxury. Here comes Deadly on the back of Pro Ultra. They're going in towards Les Combs. They do tango wheels around the outside with the wet compounds. He just seems so much more pacier. And Sander in the Ferrari. Gale is made it through on Gravangen, the Norwegian driver, down to P14. And then Gravangen comes back through as Gale loses places. Through goes a Baron 4. And the Mercedes of Gravangen is round. Thomas on his debut is into the back of him. Does he have damage? I think he might have a little bit of front wing damage. We're just about to check. But Thomas, no, he's not picked up front wing damage. He's got off very lucky there.
Yeah, I think that could have been detrimental. I'll be honest, could have ended up in so much more damage than it ended up being. I think they'd have to classify themselves as lucky, as they cannot afford that too much more in a sprint, which isn't like a massive points haul for it. However, every single point you can grab in this championship is crucial, especially in the constructors' respect. Most teams split by just about 20-ish points, so anything can flip it on its head with, I believe it's 8 races left of this season.
That is true, and Sander being overtaken by Merkel there in the Haas as they go down in towards the bus stop chicane, or I think Sander might have got through an Ivan through Blanchimont. Epic OJ is now 1.5 seconds clear of Reese. Reese just cannot stay with the Sauber driver. This is turning out to be a great race between the pair of them again. They are running away with it, but Pro Ultra is not giving Reese the distance that he would have wanted. And Reese did win the World Championships here in Tier 1 in Season 10. He wants to repeat that here in Season 12. But here comes Pro Ultra in the Aston Martin. Down the Kemmel straight we go. Wheel to wheel, side by side. And what about Deadly as well? We're going to go 3 wide. The Aston Martin nearly swipes into the side pod of that Williams as we go in towards Les Combs. They do tangle, and onto the gravel goes Deadly. Through goes Reese. And Thomas, no, it's XD Storms that is out as he went up a rouge. He's crashed it. There's going to be no safety car. That is cars in the Sauber that is through on the Williams. Reese is safe for a second, but it's Pro Ultra that goes through and goes wide.
Yeah, It's getting nip and tuck. Pro Ultra just having to now have to hold on against Reese, who is clearly struggling as they get a 3-second track limit penalty.
Wow.
Couldn't be any better timing for me to say that.
Yeah.
As, it's just his race walking himself backwards now. As things stand, he won't even be in the podium places. He'll be down in 5th. And this is probably where the Red Bull of Aspect will be telling himself to start speeding up, drive like he has to survive in this race, because he does have Mirko on their back, who tends to be the quicker driver in these conditions from what I've seen against those two. But with the laps ticking away, the opportunities are fading. You have to think about it in a literal sense. It's now or never for some of these drivers, and Reese, it looks like it may come never for that top 3, as Epic setting another fastest lap, the track drying up, the Inters being the quicker tyre now.
Yeah, so the Inters, it's starting to swap over now from the wet compounds to the Inters. You've got Gravangan just fighting with both the McLarens at the back there of Jinto and Edward, and that is the Alpine of Gale just drifting through the source, turning up the source there. As Aspect as well in P6, Reese is starting to fall off Pro Ultra. He's not finding it comfortable in the rain, and Kars, the Dutchman, is starting to catch up to him. Here comes Mirko and Aspect side by side through Les Combs, and is he going to leave room? Oh, he squeezes him. There goes B. Wright, the 4-time world champion, through on Pulse Luxury in the Ferrari, who holds on. Here comes Jeffy Boy as we go through turn 9, down in towards turn 10. Pulse Luxury just staying ahead.
Yeah, that could have been a nightmare. Pulse. Jeffy Boy putting that pressure on. He did look like he had a lot more pace in the tank in qualifying. I'm pretty sure he started something like 17th or whatever, and now he's up into fighting for the lower top 10 places with B. Wright and Luxury. Whether or not he'll be able to do it, I can tell you he could probably get 11th on the fact he stays within 3 seconds of Luxury. Not ideal for that Ferrari getting the penalty, as Reese, in fact, has just set the absolute best middle sector from my understanding.
Yeah, you're right.
So the laps coming down again, and Reese maybe now coming back into his own. Maybe he's been tyre saving for the duration of the race, and therefore allowing him to go all out attack when he needs it, when the penalty is on the line. Yellow flags being waved. I believe that is Ivan in the Red Bull, who has had a little spin on the entry, and back underway, at least under pressure from the Alpine of Geland.
Yeah, so Ivan just making a little mistake there, which did cost him, and I think you've probably read the room here, Harry. I think Reese is probably looking after them tyres potentially for the end of the race. We've still got 18 drivers still in this Grand Prix. Thomas is in his debut. His times did reflect Tier 2. He did want to race Tier 1, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do when he does get into his own tier, as Jeffy Boy moves into the top 10. Remember, points do go down to P10 here in the sprint race, from first all the way down to 10th position for the final point. And Reese at the moment, with that 3-second time penalty, would finish P5, so that is detrimental. That means he would lose 5 points to his championship contender, as Gale goes through, and Ivan, the Croatian driver, is starting to struggle in the rain with 6 laps down of the 8 to go.
Yeah, at least for Reese, he can leave his head somewhat high entering the main event, knowing he's still got the championship lead come the end of it. However, it may not be as big of a lead as he'd like. But with the way things are going, he's definitely flirting with a possible top 4, because Cars and Deadly on those full wets, dropping about 4/10 a lap over the last lap or two. I'll be honest, come the end of the race, I'd be expecting them both outside that 3-second barrier of the Racing Bulls. As long as they can keep up with Pro Ultra and match their pace, they're definitely going to do it. As Sander being put under pressure from B. Wright, can the Racing Bulls look to the outside for the bus stop? The Ferrari getting a bit skittish as they went through the apexes, managing to keep it all intact. As now it's the Racing Bull's chance to try and mount a lunge into turn 1. No, he'll wait for the Kemmel straight in a couple of moments' time.
Yeah, out of La Source for that Racing Bull. He's got the Williams behind him, the Ferrari in front of him. This is still going to be good points in their battle for the constructors, but you've got to look at where the Saubers are first and fourth, and the Racing Bulls ninth and potentially fifth. Here comes B. Wright to try and take that P8 away. And through goes the Racing Bull on the Ferraris. We go down in towards Let's Come, squeezing Sander to the outside. He wants Jeffy Boy to try and attack now. That's what he's really hoping for. Gravangan and Ivan, the two, one Norway, one Croatia, 1v1 for P14 and 15. But it is the Norwegian driver that comes out in front of this exchange. And what about Jeffy Boy? He is extremely close now to Sander, the Williams and the Ferrari, and B. Wright is already a second ahead, so he's flying now.
Yeah, one thing I noticed with Sander over this lap is he's touched that grass quite a few times, probably more times than there's a corner in that middle sector. And especially on that Kemmel straight, they spent a good 5 seconds with their left-hand side on that grass. That allowed the Racing Bulls to just skyrocket and blitz their way through. And now he's very much been left in the dust. Who also has been left in the dust is Cars and Deadly from Reese. They've dropped 2 seconds in the last lap near enough, and both facing 4 seconds down on the Racing Bulls. So it's almost as if that penalty has been neutralised. However, Mirko sitting there still hoping to pick up on a few scrap places with the final lap heading up towards La Source. The Inter's getting so close to the rear end of the two ahead, and the longer these two continue their duel, it will just filter the others in more and more, going up through Rajon de la Rouge, managing to keep it all intact, even though it did look quite squabbly from Deadly. He'll go to the outside, down the Kemmel straight to Lecom, and up and through into fourth. Don't really have to defend whatsoever into Malmedy, and now Mirko just has to focus on getting ahead of that Sauber. Looks to the inside briefly for Bruxelles, instead trying to go the long way round in the Haas car. Doesn't manage to do so this time.
Yeah, we had some great exchanges there, and we were riding on board with Mirko and Cars. We flipped to Jeffy Boy, who got through on Sander, and now comes back Mirko up the inside of Cars as we go in towards Puhon. You do not want to go wheel to wheel here. They do touch. The Sauber is off the track, but he's staying with them. And then wet compound tyres. He is struggling now, but he is defending and holding on for dear life as the Haas does get his nose ahead. And what about the Red Bull of Aspect behind? So Cars is down to P6. You are absolutely right, Harry. That penalty for Reese is essentially irrelevant because he's that far clear as Aspect goes onto the gravel and off the track, and he just holds on as through goes B. Wright to pick up an extra position. Epic OJ, who is second in the Drivers' Championship, will come through to take the victory here in the sprint race.
Brilliant stuff by Epic, as the battling is not quite done there. You've got Aspect still all over the back of B. Wright, doesn't manage to get a move through the bus stop to rectify their mistake, and the field pretty much not changing whatsoever until Pulse Luxury gets a place demoted for a penalty, and then Jelend also plummeting due to a penalty as well. However, Epic will definitely take that epic sprint win. Reese will probably be more than happy with a third place.
Yeah, that was a really good race. Wow, some of the racing there, especially Aspect, well involved in it. You had Pro Ultra and Reese at one point, Deadly and Mirko and Cars were going at it all race. So yeah, some really good overtakes, some really great battling, and hopefully we can continue to see that through the feature race. But yes, Epic OJ takes first blood in Belgium. So Epic OJ does win the sprint race here in F7R for round 12. Then Pro Ultra in P2. And then you've got Reese in P3, Deadly in P4, Mirko in P5, Kaz in P6, B-Right in P7, Aspect in P8, Jeffy in P9, and Sander will take the last remaining point.
Well, that is one of your 2 sessions done for Tier 1 today. And I do think that sets up for a very interesting main event because, of course, we've already seen qualifying, so we somewhat know where these drivers should qualify, but you've got more time, so more opportunity for mistake, more opportunity for some of those names lower down the field to set a blistering lap. That could even see them jump up the field. Then you, of course, have a longer feature race as well of, I think it's 22 laps-ish. Yes. So plenty of action. That can be fit into that small time frame as qualifying is now beginning.
Yeah, and it's dry again. In the top right, I don't know if that's not updated yet because it's still the storm. Yes, there we go. It does update, and it is light cloud for the next 15 minutes, which is what we want to see for these drivers. And do we get another rainy race? I've got to say, considering it was absolutely chucking it down, we didn't get many incidents in that sprint race over the 8 laps. I thought, and considering we had a lot of drivers going side by side and battling, I thought it was really good.
I'd say, yeah, the drivers were well behaved there, but that's why these guys are some of the best in F7R, to say the least. Yeah. And that's kind of what we'd want to see as a baseline expectation, I'd imagine.
Yeah, absolutely right, Harry. Couldn't have said it better myself. These guys set the bar. They set it. They are the pinnacle of F7, and that is why you see so much class racing. That is Aspect, who is going to be first out. So the Red Bull driver, who has been very unfortunate lately. Aspect is a very, very good driver. He's well known in the sim racing scene. I've watched a couple of his races. I've seen a couple of races where he's come out on top and he's won in different leagues and things like that. I know how good Aspect can be. His look in Formula 7 racing has been slightly different to his look everywhere else, and I am waiting to see the lightning that Aspect can bring inside the storm, and I'm just waiting for that opportunity that he can show us them skills that everybody so talks about. So yeah, he is the first driver out on track to try and bid his way into pole position.
Yeah, well, 54 points in the first 12 races for the Red Bull. Not the best of seasons, to say the least. However, it's still quite a long way to go. That can definitely be changed regarding there's only 30 points between him in 16th and the man in 11th in the standings. Consistent points between now and when the checkered flag falls in round 20. And we could see Aspect jump quite a few places up. As you said, he's brilliant in so many places. His luck just hasn't reflected itself here. I completely agree to that statement. I've seen so many moments of wonders and miracles through that Red Bull. And hopefully he's about to give us one, as he's about to take to a flyer here in Spa.
So Aspect with that DRS enabled, down in towards turn 1, Atlas Source into the right-hander. Nice and tight to the apex, easy on the throttle on the way out, using the curb to the left-hand side, and then it is pedal to the metal, as you can see him burning that battery, and then just lets go. He wants to save a lot of that for the Kemmel straight. Nicely done, upper rouge, and then down the DRS straight. That rear wing will now open up as Aspect bidding for provisional pole. He will take provisional pole by default until the end as you go into Osler's comms, and once again into the right-hander at turn 7 and 8, and then down in towards Purcell's. And once again the driver just eager to not use all of that battery because he wants to save it going down in towards Blanchimont. Through turn 10 and 11 now at Pouhon. Into the long left-hander, you just want to ease off the throttle. You do not want to go wide there and pick up an invalidation. And then this is a tricky part of the circuit. It can catch you out because it comes at you rather quickly. And when you go late on the brakes, you can find yourself just drifting off as you go in towards the right-hander, down in towards Paul Frere, and then out of the chicane and down towards Blanchimont on the medium compound tyre. He's not even touching the softs yet, and he is burning that battery all the way through Blanchimont, through the left-hander and up towards the bus stop chicane. It is Aspect in the Red Bull putting on a show for us here in Belgium, in towards the right and left-hander at turn 18 and 19. A short run up to the line, loses the rears, and it's a 1:41.3.
Yeah, it's the Storm's next driver to meet the checkered flag, and that's going to be a 43.0 for them. Wasn't the best of laps. However, you also have Thomas on a run going through Stavelot now, heading up towards Paul Frere. Which, one thing you brought up is about the battery. So many drivers, in fact, actually run out of battery upon braking for the bus stop chicane. Will Thomas fall to similar fate? He will end up actually deploying a chunk of it and very nearly runs out. He's left himself a tiny bit to give him a spurt of life. Maybe not anymore with that big snap and a very close save, to say the least, as that will only be third for them. Next driver to go through is Groven in the Mercedes. The Silver Arrow is doing really well in real life, not so well here in F7R Tier 1, currently 5th in the standings on 193 points in the first 11 or so events. They're quite a way back from Red Bull. Their gap 57 points according to my calculations. That's me just looking at two numbers and trying to do it in my head without a calculator, which is where I'm usually stronger. But Groven hasn't been able to calculate the battery just right. Runs out before this spot dash, and it's a 42-1 either way.
Yeah, so Aspect still fastest at the moment with that 1:41.3. We do have a couple of drivers coming through. A bad on 4 in the Alpine just coming through at Paul Frere, and he will be trying to beat Aspect to that pole position. He's sort of he's been super consistent this season, has a bad on 4. He has had a few incidents. He's trying to now stay out of that trouble, and we'll see what he can potentially do here in round 12. We know that the constructors is sort of being run away with the Racing Bull and the Sauber, and the drivers standing sort of being run away with Epic OJ and Reese, but these drivers have still got a lot to battle for, especially with their respective teams, and it is quite close in the midfield of the pack. So up to P2 goes a bad on 4. Jeffy Boy's on an outlap, and Sander in the Ferrari will get us underway for another lap here in Spa.
Yeah, Sander leaving La Source, working their way down towards Rajon de la Rouge. I love asking people what comes first, and 90% of the time they get it wrong. For Sander, he manages to get them in the right order as he now gets onto the Camel Straight, using the toe from Abaddon. That's the right driver. He's now going to come at me after this going, "You've got me and my teammate muddled up." So I'm going to put my hands up now, as Sander is going to show no remorse, as it was a purple sector one. As I said earlier, game doesn't know, so I'm going blind. You probably have a bit more in-depth stats. However, Sander continuing on quite strong. Still got 60% of the battery, most then majority, and there we go. Round goes the Ferrari. Has kept it all in a straight line, but that is almost definitely his lap over. Edward is the next car going through Piron now.
Yeah, Edward in the McLaren, and as you can see, Aspect is the fastest in every sector at the moment. Edward in the McLaren just coming through turn 13 and down in towards the right-hander at turn 14 for the Papaya McLaren. Sander just losing it there. I know Sander and Abaddon 4, they know each other outside of F7R, so I'm wondering if he'd give him a little toe just to say, you know, here you go, because they're not teammates, one for an Alpine and one for a Ferrari, so you don't see that every day, two separate teams helping each other with a little bit of slipstream on the DRS straight. Here comes Edward in the McLaren out of the final chicane and down towards the checkered flag. 9 minutes to go, and he's up to P3.
Yeah, brilliant lap from Edward. It's so early to actually say it's a brilliant lap because so many drivers yet to do one. You can actually see about 9 drivers on an out lap at the moment. One of those who aren't, however, is Luxury, hoping to live the dream after this lap, maybe putting themselves in amongst those higher places. We will find out in a few moments as they go through Stavlo, and now Corporal Frey, as a bug has just tried attacking the Ferrari on my screen, but lost that battle. Will Luxury be able to win the war of completing a lap here at Spa-Francorchamps? It's a technically difficult circuit, so easy to invalidate it when you push too hard. The Ferrari going around the final 2 corners now, using their 0.5% battery left, and goes to 3rd.
Yeah, good lap for the Ferrari driver. We do have the Alpine of Gale, who will be next to the line, and Gale will put it nowhere. He stays P13, so he is now on a lap. I do apologise, I thought he was on a flyer. Jinto in the McLaren coming out of turn 9. Then you've got Epic OJ in the Sauber, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do. Mirko and Ivan all on laps, so we will jump on board with Epic OJ. We do have another driver coming up towards the line. I'm just trying to figure out who that is at the moment. Is it Deadly? No, it's not. It's Reese on an outlap, so we will jump back on board with the Sauber. He got a little bit of slipstream from his teammate down through Blanchimont. So the Saubers are already trying to work together here through the bus stop chicane, and Gale and Pulse Luxury have had a coming together, Harry.
Yeah, I literally caught it. I was going to chirp him, but I was like, you'll probably see it. I'm going to let you have that. But yeah, Gele is trying to do a push lap whilst Luxury on a slow lap. The Ferrari just parks it on the inside of Malmedy, and because you're on a fast lap or whatever in the Alpine, you're going to go as fast as you can, so he tries chucking the car through the corner. Unfortunately, 2 ends meet and they go round for a little bit of a dance, which is a shame because the Alpine now running around with half a front wing, most likely going to limp back to the pit lane, recuperate and try again in the final 5 or so minutes. But that, to say the least, is a run wasted. However, as you said, Reese starting lap, he's going through Pouon now in the Racing Bulls, hoping to continue their sprint performance and go 1 up. Trying to go through Stavlo, and now Corporal Frey. It's a 12.9 after the first 2 sectors. Again, a purple according to the game, using their battery, the numbers plummeting, 20% battery remaining as they go through Blanchimont, giving themselves a bit of juice to use come the end of the lap through the bus stop, shimmying it left and right. Back on the power, up to the line. What will it be for Reese? It will be provisional pole for now.
A 140.6 for Reese, so that is a good lap for him. You've got Pro Ultra on the lap. Kars also got a slipstream from his teammate, so he returned the favour. Is it going to be enough to put it 2-3 for Sauber, or even 1-3? No, it's P7 for Kars. He will not be happy about that one. B Right, the 4-time world champion, coming down in towards the bus stop chicane. You've got Pro Ultra coming towards Blanchimont. So B Right down towards the line with 5 minutes to go, and he will put it P3. That is an awesome lap from the former world champion. Pro Ultra in the Aston Martin. I say former world champion, he's actually the reigning world champion, is B Right. He's not having a good title defence, but he is currently and still the world champion until it is mathematically impossible to not be. So Reese in the Racing Bull is currently on provisional pole with just under 5 to go.
Well, B Right currently 107 points back on Reese, entering this weekend with the sprint result coming into play. Make it about 114, I want to say, as a rough estimate. It's salvageable for certain. He just has to try and go on a massive winning streak between now and the final race to bring himself as close as possible. As you said, he's still the champion until someone tells him he can't win it anymore.
And the
that
thing is as well, Harry, is Reese and B Wright had a massive rivalry last season. They were the two competing for the championship right until the death, and they were really competitive with each other. There was many situations like a Netflix series, Drive to Survive moments, where we had big collisions and incidents and arguments and back and forths. And then we did the draw, the spin the wheel for the new season, and they got paired up as teammates. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it almost looked like a match made in heaven.
Yes.
Unfortunately, Sauber managing to outperform them so far. 35 points between those two constructors entering this weekend. And B Wright, talking about him, entering the pit lane, giving us a little bit of a Tokyo drift as well. Only if he was actually in Tokyo, then he may have got a few photographers on that one.
Maybe seen Lewis Hamilton's F40 whilst he was at it. Sander, talking of Ferraris, is out and heading towards Blanchimont and then up towards the bus stop chicane. He will be the first of the final runners here in Spa-Francorchamps to set a lap here in round 12. So the first of the final runners once again is Sander. Then you've got XD Storms behind him. He will go out wide to get us underway with just under 3 minutes to go. And you've got the Ferrari of Pulse Luxury who's actually waiting for him. He's headed in towards the bottom of Arouge, and I don't think he is going to wait for him, is he? Pulse Luxury, he's got a little bit of traffic in front of him here, Sander. Hopefully the Aston Martin is going to see him up towards Arouge. He's getting a little bit of dirty air. I hope this isn't going to punish him. The Aston Martin is moving out of the way. Here's the Ferrari in the distance who's going to try and give him a tow, and he will give him a tow, but it's not as much as I thought he was going to go and get. Down in towards Les Combs, and Sander with a little bit of a helping hand there, Harry.
Yeah, Purple Sector 1 still, probably due to those three cars giving him a slingshot up Rajon de la Rouge and then down the Kemmel Straight. Unfortunately for Luxury, he couldn't have gave more, because I'll tell you for a fact he would have gave more if there weren't two cars behind him. As that's just poor placement more than anything. Nothing you can do. That's just the way the cards have been dealt. You can very much explain qualifying here almost like gambling, because everyone trying to come out in such a compact space, you never know who's going to be around you. If you get the right luck of the draw, you'll get it. If not, you won't. But Sander continuing on their pursuit. It's Purple 1 and Purple 2 so far from my understanding, hoping to set the whole track alight and go to the top, maybe knock Reese off that top step. They're trying to do the infamous flick method, chuck it right, chuck it left, up to the line, and it won't be enough to topple the two championship leaders.
It won't. So P3 for Sander, still a fantastic lap, and I think Pulse Luxury is going to get the return of the favour from AERT Sander, but they are going really slow in towards the bus stop chicane. Look at them all, absolutely piling up. They're trying to get a little bit of space. Pulse Luxury is going really slowly. Is that in front of B? Right, no, it's in front of Reese. So a little bit of playing in towards the bus stop chicane. You can see them all still piling up. They're all trying to get time, and I tell you what, they might be on the brink of elimination here. They need to be careful with only a few seconds to go. You've got Deadly waiting to go. Pulse Luxury in the Ferrari. Is his teammate going to give him a tow down? I don't think he is. He's not going to get enough time to give it him. He might get a little bit, but is it even worth it at this point? It's not. Down in towards Les Combs, and Pulse Luxury is going to have to do it all alone.
Yeah, it's a shame for that Ferrari. He just didn't manage to get far enough to get the tow on Sander. But then that's all you can really do in that sense, because there's only so much of that straight. And due to how far apart they split themselves, just became impossible to do. But Pro Ultra, Purple Middle Sector, as Govan heading round the final two corners, they go to P11. What will Ultra be able to do? On the other hand, down the gears all the way to second, trying to get the rotation in so then they can dart it to the line. This lap will be where they start, and it will be third for now. Aspect up next, he goes to third, knocking their competitor off. As Epic up next, he goes to the top of the timing chart. Brilliant lap for them. Mirko hoping to match him, only to fourth. Then you have Reese crossing the line. He can't improve, but can Be Right improve possibly. The other Racing Bulls currently seventh as things stand, going through the final two corners. Is it going to be a double top three, or will Be Right miss out? He's going to unfortunately miss out with P7 as they cross the line. Deadly up next. Was Deadly for the sake of Pro Ultra and Be Right, knocking them both down. And then Sander being the last driver to take to the line here in Spa.
Yeah, so it is once again Epic OJ that will take pole position here in Belgium. It is Reese in P2, just like the sprint race. So you take us through it, Harry, and I'll just write it in.
Well, Epic, brilliant lap, 38 thousandths of a second clear of their championship contender Reese Dye. Aspect comes home third with Mirko fourth, Cars in fifth, Deadly takes sixth with Pro Ultra in seventh, the Israeli nipping the place from Be Right. Then it's Sander ninth, Ivan 10th with Gelend 11th, Edward 12th, Tinkto 13th, Abaddon 14th, Grovingen, Thomas, Luxury, Jeffy Boy, then Storm. But Luxury will be starting from last due to a 5-place grid drop for a collision with Gelend.
Wow, and yeah, as Aspect said, it's the exact same top four as we had in the sprint race. So it tells us how consistent these drivers are and how reliable they are. But this is going to be a dry race, and we had a lot of overtakes and a lot of battling when it was raining. Imagine throwing a little bit of sunshine and a little bit of DRS in there, and what are we going to get now here in Tier 1?
Whatever it is, we're just going to have to try and skin and bear it and decipher it all. As it's going to be absolutely manic. Because bear in mind, that sprint was only 8 laps. You've got over double of that to put up with. It's going to be difficult to track, but that's the joys of it all.
Definitely, I completely agree, and that is why we all enjoy it. So we are getting ready to go, and that will be another formation lap, and then 22 laps of racing. You can see the podium up on the right there, ready and waiting for the top 3 in this race. Epic OJ will be glad to be in that position. Remember, the winner gets 30 points here in F7, and second gets 25. So at the moment, that would be a 5-point deficit in favour of Epic OJ. And Aspect in P3. Aspect obviously not had much luck in his racing, but he's done really well in qualifying again to put himself in the podium places. He just needs to turn it into a result in the race.
Yeah, if he can turn it into a result, he's going to definitely be right up there. Will massively help their championship. Could even send them up into that top 13 as such, which is quite optimistic, but it's never out of the window. One thing I love to talk about is strategy. You know that by now. Yeah. But most these drivers, if you can't see, are on the mediums. 5 on the hards. That's Pro Ultra, Be Right, Gelend, Thomas, and Luxury. Those on mediums probably are going to go about, I don't know, 8 laps, maybe 12 at a push, and then go hards to the end. Somewhere between that. Those who start on the hards, are going to do that end stint first, and then the medium stint at the end. So it's pretty much flip those strategies on the head. You could maybe roll the dice and do maybe something similar to a medium soft. Do about 7-7-8 or 8-8-7. Just so many options to take with, as these drivers are now heading to the grid to see who will make it out first into turn 1.
And you throw a safety car in there and it chucks it all up. And if you didn't see it in the sprint race, let's go through the track map here in Belgium. So we are here in Spa-Francorchamps, a 4.352 mile track with 19 corners, 2 DRS detection zones, 1 speed trap, all the way up from turn 4 to turn 5. You've got that huge DRS up the hill, down the Kemmel Straight, and that is where all the action will be here this evening. So Epic OJ will be starting on pole, Reese will be alongside him, and Harry will be getting us underway very shortly.
The pressure is on. As first time we commentated together, PSGL last season here at Spa. A very different grid to that, of course,
Yeah.
but just as high stakes, because a championship is on the line for so many of these drivers. As the lights now going up, 3, 4 and 5. The lights are out and away we go here in Spa for F7R Tier 1 as it's Epic versus Reese. Reese round the outside in the Racing Bulls trying to hang it out and gets the better throttle on the exit. As you can see, a Red Bull riding that sausage curb. That is Ivan, who's dropped a few places as there's a big conundrum in the background. It's Edward going round.
Big crash!
As everyone going round, Edward, Jelen, Thomas, Grovan, Luxury, pretty much everyone in the mixer in that midfield, and that is what you expect to see from Spa. It is brutal with these start procedures and the field neutralised with a virtual safety car. Surprised it's not gone any further than that, as just having a look, you can see Grovan holding front wing damage, Edward having a non-existent front wing, so quite a few taking a hit from that.
Yeah, big damage to some of these drivers at the back of the grid. So there was a huge collision. Gravangan picking up damage. Thomas, Gale, Edward in the McLaren. Reese with a brilliant start to this Grand Prix. He pipped the pole sitter to the lead. Aspect lost 2 places off the start line. One of them to a Haas, one of them to a Sauber. Deadly has stayed in position. Jinto in the McLaren made up 5 places. B-Rat lost 1. A bad on 4 made up 4. So a lot of changes at the opening of this feature race. The virtual safety car is still out. All the drivers are still piled up. We're going to get a lot of them peeling off into the pit lane, especially that McLaren, Alpine and Mercedes at the back of the grid. We are green once again, and that is Pulse Luxury. That is through an XD Storms up the inside of Blanchimont. Has to back out. Back comes through the Haas driver, and there goes Mirko on Epic OJ. This is for P2. What about Aspect as well? He watches on. A front row seat to this exchange as we go in towards La Source. Up the inside is Mirko. The Italian driver is a fawn in the side of that green machine as we head in towards a Rouge. And it is the Haas that is just ahead, and that is B. Wright, the world champion, that is into the wall. Here, coming out of La Source at turn 1, he has wing damage. And B. Wright. And we've got 3 drivers going side by side. Aspect, Epic OJ, Mirko and Kaz. This is phenomenal. The 2 Saubers come very close to each other, but it's Epic OJ that stays in P3.
Yeah, unfortunate for B. Wright. He definitely just had the wrong flip of the coin in this race. So early as well to make a mistake, especially as the reigning world champion. Yes, the weight on your shoulders, but going round in that manner, it was such a petty spin from where I saw it. It didn't look like it took much to topple that Racing Bull round. But also, on the final corner, I believe it was Storm, Jeffy Boy and Thomas all making a bit of contact, having a little bit of a confetti explosion on the exit. So do bear that in mind. They may be carrying some damage that could trigger earlier stops for those drivers as such, as Aspect doing all they can to hold within DRS range of Reese, as that will be absolutely crucial as we enter the 3rd lap of the race. The first time in which they can use DRS up towards the source. Most of these drivers tend to opt out from doing that, just as then you'd lose it. Going down that Kemmel Straight as Pro Ultra has pulled into pits and retired from the race.
Yeah, real shame there for Pro Ultra, and the race did not go the way he wanted it to, and he has retired at the start of this feature race. A real shame, because some of the driving has been awesome. What about Cars on his teammate? Remember, they've got that DRS now. Here comes Aspect on the Racing Bull. The two sister cars are 1-2. Aspect looking to win his first Formula 7 race. Mirko on the back of Sander. He's now up to P6. The Ferrari is making moves. And some of these drivers at the back, especially B Right, are praying and hoping for a safety car here in Spa. Will they get one? There's a good chance. You never know what will happen here. It's a difficult circuit. They're long laps, around 1:40 per lap. So yeah, definitely an opportunity for some kind of comeback. The only problem is they're long laps but short. So sorry, long laps but not very many of them. So 22 in total, so the safety car doesn't come out very often.
Yeah, if the safety car does come out, it usually dissipates in a lap or two. So you'd be lucky to get more than that. I'm pretty sure the race earlier had about 3 laps of the safety car in the rain, which was quite long in my opinion.
It was out for ages, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then with the lap being so long as well, it makes it feel even more of an eternity. Just waiting behind it. But who is waiting behind the leader is Aspect. They've got DRS once again, and they're about half a second closer than they were a lap ago. So could we maybe see that Red Bull try and take the race lead come the end of the Kemmel Straight this time round, trying to use some battery, closing it down, using quite a lot compared to Reese. Their levels rather similar, and this is where the crucial stint appears. DRS versus no DRS. Aspect to the inside of Reese, and no second thought about that. Nice and easy for the Red Bull, who now takes your race lead here today.
Yeah, so Aspect now your race leader here in Spa. There was a move there. That is Pulse Luxury in the Ferrari as well. That is very close to the back of Jeffy, but I think he was just overtaken. All the top, in fact, the top 10 are all still locked in that DRS train, which is what we want to see after 4 laps of racing. Epic OJ knows that now that Reese is in P2, he's got to catch up. He's got to do something. He's got to throw himself in the mix. Epic OJ's got the pace. He's qualified on pole position twice tonight. He knows over 1 lap he is quicker than Reese, but he needs to get back in front of that Racing Bull. Thank you for the follow.
Yeah, if he doesn't get past, then it's him pretty much dooming his own stance in this championship, because these are easy points that Sauber should be picking up. He's been the quicker car all weekend long, and when it comes to the main points on offer, just to let them slip, it's quite inexperienced is a good way to say it. It's something that can be done so easily, but when you aren't with the experience of being a title contender here, the nerves can kick in a bit.
I think Reese is ghosting there as well. Epic OJ was basically ghosting right through the Racing Bull. Sorry, my window's open and there's a storm outside my window. Here we go, Epic OJ on Reese. And the championship contenders will swap around, and Ivan in the Red Bull also makes a move on the McLaren, but Epic OJ is right where he wants to be, and Reese is down to P3, and I would not be surprised if I see Epic OJ start to back Reese up into cars. You know, they've done it before already this season. I'm sure they'll do it again.
Yeah, they probably will, because you can just see Reese is struggling. I've been on board with him for last lap. He had a snap of oversteer coming out of Stavlo. He had one going through La Source. He even had one going through Bruxelles hairpin and Speaker's corner. His car just looking so uncertain, very on edge, which may be the way the driver likes to drive it, but he kind of has to try and rein it in a bit more, and then maybe he can go back on his charge in this race. He also had that stage in the sprint where he was similar. He was working his way backwards just due to a struggling grip. Then he got past it and they were setting fastest laps.
And here comes Reese in towards the bus stop chicane. A tenth of a second separating them. The problem is Epic OJ needs to stay within DRS range of Aspect, but he also needs to start to push Reese into the other Sauber driver. They did it in Singapore. They did it amazingly well. They were pushing each other backwards, trying to give each other a gap in the lead. It did work really well, actually. And will they try it again here in Spa? So through a Rouge and down the Kemmel Straight, Epic OJ will get DRS. Has Reese got the speed? No, he's out of battery. We can see the ERS levels on your screen right now. So what about cars? Yeah, they're all burning the battery. Hardly any of them have got a bit of battery. What about a bad on 4? What about Jeffy Boy on Pulse Luxury? He will make it through as they go down in towards Les Combs. It's Jeffy Boy, the British driver, through on the Israeli in towards Les Combs.
Yeah, nice move, nice and simple, not too overcomplicated. Whilst at the front, it is getting quite complicated, especially for the two Red Bull liveried cars of Aspect and Reese. The junior and senior team flipped on their head in this division. Racing Bulls about 119 points clear of the senior team. But in this race, Aspect has Epic on his rear, and Epic also trying to back the junior team driver into the field to see how many more points he can score against his title rival, as they just have to try and manage both battles, because you can't attack when you're defending and you can't defend when you're attacking is the best way to explain it. So Epic and Reese have to decide what they want to do here.
You very, very rarely see B Right get track limit penalties, and maybe it's gone to his head here because he has picked up a 3 second. So he's definitely feeling the pressure a little bit. And also, Cars only half a second behind Reese now. Epic OJ's got a little bit more battery. Cars hasn't. So Epic OJ is probably safe. In fact, he's probably going to go for the lead of this Grand Prix. Here he comes into the slipstream, and Epic OJ, Aspect moves to the left-hand side. Epic OJ will go out wide, and he is now the Sauber into the lead, right back where he started. And the Red Bull having to back out there. Reese still in front of Cars, and Deadly is starting to join the action. Do not count out Sander, Mirko or Ivan as well. Ivan has 3 podiums this season, and he's only driven in 5 races. He has been a menace when it comes to racecraft.
Yeah, a driver to look out for certain. As Mirko, 3 tenths back on Sander move could definitely be on the cards in the next few moments, as you said. Those two getting really close, and Mirko lost 3 places from where he started, will be desperate to regain them when they have a chance, whilst Reese and Aspect. Now the question will be, are they going to cooperate to beat Epic, or are they going to race their own races here today?
You can see the medium compound tyres as well for these drivers already around 50 to 55%. I'm wondering if any of these drivers are going to try a huge undercut and then potentially hope for a late safety car. Yes, Mirko and Ivan, they are chancing it. They're going to go onto some fresh hard compound tyres, and if they get any kind of help near the end of this race, it will be an absolute game changer. XD Storms is also in. I wouldn't be surprised yet to see a couple more coming in. What about B Right in that Racing Bull? He's already on the hards after picking up damage. Here comes Aspect on Epic OJ. Has he got enough in the tank to retake the lead of this Grand Prix? Epic OJ covers the inside. Aspect goes out wide, but he does defend really well here, Epic OJ. A bad on 4 is through on Jinto in towards Les Combs. He's up, and Pulse Luxury is back through on Jeffrey Boy. It's Deja Vu. And what about Cars in P5 in the Sauber, all over the back of that Williams, who's now very close to Reese Dye, who's down in P3. That is 22 points for P3 and 30 for P1, so an 8-point deficit for the Sauber.
Yeah, that would put them behind Epic in this championship.
Wow.
But I want to say 2 points from the end of it all. Either that or they're level on points. So don't quote me on much. as
I know you're going
I've
to
got
work
two
all that
different
out,
solutions on this. As yeah, we of course don't have standings after that sprint race going into full swing, but using those finish positions, I do think it should be level if things were to end the way they are. But you have to consider Mirko, Ivan, and some others have pitted early. They're going to be on the undercut. If they do go for the one stopper, then they could be in the run for the lead as Reese trying to
Wow.
cover them off quite early, I'd say, for one of the drivers competing for the title.
Yeah, I think you're right, Harry. I didn't expect to see that. So Reese is into the pit lane, but Cars has followed him in. That means that Cars is going to be left right on the back of Reese and potentially battling him. If he can get DRS on the back of the Racing Bull when they come out of this pit stop, he could potentially start to help his teammate. But they've come out in quite a bit of traffic here. Has Cars come out behind? Yes, Mirko in the Haas is in front of Cars. Reese has come out right behind an Aston Martin of Thomas. He is being held up, and that's what he was concerned about. And Thomas he doesn't need to get out of the way. He's in his own race here, and you can see the Haas of Mirko just wiggling. Here comes Cars and Sander. It is the Sauber that stays ahead of the Ferrari, but he needs to get a move on if he wants to help his teammate, as Reese Dye is now through on the Aston Martin and in the all clear.
Yeah, Reese needed to make that move immediately, as he did have that Haas with fresh and warmed up tyres on the rear, but now they're all going to get caught up behind Thomas, and that gives Reese a chance to run, which does not go well for Epic or Aspect whatsoever. They're now at risk of the undercut from the Racing Bulls. We saw how strong Mirko's undercut was for one lap. Imagine Reese in clean air rather than traffic and for one lap.
Oh my God, we've got three of them, Harry. Sorry, going down in towards the bus stop chicane, we've got the three leaders. Literally, all of them were side by side going in towards the bus stop chicane. Aspect nearly spins. Oh my God, it nearly ended in disaster again. They are all into the pit lane, and they were all battling, Harry. And I think you're right. I think Reese is going to get a massive undercut here. He didn't get held up, and the three drivers that he's undercutting are all battling each other.
Yeah, that has not helped whatsoever. As you can see, Reese is already going around the source, and none of them, now Epic, have just hit the pit exit. So Reese has gone from third to first.
Ivan's out!
And that's a safety car.
Safety car! The Red Bull has smashed into the wall. The safety car just waits for him. Wow, and we were waiting for the safety car, and just as a couple of drivers have pitted, this is unbelievable. That means that Pulse Luxury potentially is in a really strong position on the freshest tyres. This really throws everything up in the air, Harry.
Yeah, look, to be straight up, Pulse Luxury is literally living in luxury now, knowing he can pretty much dive off that strategy. Does he go and pit is the question, because yes, staying out will just butcher those tyres. But then do you consider one of those strategies I brought up was a two-stop? For those who have pitted lap 7 and 8 and maybe lap 9, do they think they'll go to the end on the hards? If not, is that two-stop liable? And for the sake of Pulse Luxury, he could go for the mediums and go for a two-stop, do 9 laps on the hards, and then he has to straight up to about 6 laps on each set of mediums to take him to the end. So he's got strategy to play with. Does he go for the stop or does he not, is the true question. Almost like me being Shakespeare, trying to rehearse a play like to be or not to be in this case.
Yeah, and I think you're right. He is in luxury here, Pulse. You've picked it up right. I'm wondering what the other drivers do, or if they just take the pit stop for the sake of taking the pit stop, because there's no the drivers around them are going to pit now and go onto fresh tyres. Do they just go in and pit as well so that they can get fresh tyres till the end? No, they're not going to. They are going to stay out. But are they going to have better tyres now?
I wouldn't say so. So the hards are durable. 1 lap is not going to do anything. That's one thing we've learned. Like, when you match by one lap on hards, because they're so durable, you're just going to be setting the same times for lap on end until they fall off the cliff. For those who have gone to the mediums, though, however, that's where the questions start to brew, because they are going to be much quicker. On those mediums, it's straight up saying, oh, you're going to be quick on softs than you're on the mediums. It's straight up fact.
Yeah.
It's not much to think about. But for Pulsar Luxury, he's gained about 4 places from it. And now he's sitting in amongst that top 10 and right on the back on them. If they all go for a 2-stop in this race, Pulse could be one of your favourites if they can decipher their way and cut their way through the field. If not, then they'll just have to try and go off the grain and do their best with it.
Yeah, so that brings everybody back into play, including B Right, but he does now have that time penalty. Pulls Luxury with a comment in the chat saying them hards feel like hell. So he's not enjoying them hard compound tyres at all here in Belgium.
Yeah, as Evan said in Twitch, I thought races were free. Yeah. They were for tier 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best way to explain it. But yeah, these guys, top end, get the latter slot of them all. And getting all the spotlight to round off a week. Round off a Sunday as well, as Sander has disconnected from the session.
Oh, you're kidding. Right, I will invite him back, but you're right though, it is... Reese is still leading the Grand Prix, which is remarkable, but he did have one lap older tyres, which won't make a difference. Let's invite Sander back. Oh, he has gone offline, so I'll have to just wait for him to come back on. He will have a couple of invites already anyway. So. I'm glad EA have fixed it, because it didn't used to show every online member. You used to have to delete friends and stuff like that, but it does now, which is a good thing. So it shows everybody that's online again.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, it's a lot better.
Yeah, it's definitely fixed it. The only issue is it's still a nightmare to actually join a session.
Yeah, I know. Literally.
But anyways, these guys just limping around the track. Isn't this lap 2 of the safety car?
Yes.
I want to say.
And Ivan is really consistent. It's very rare that he crashes out. So something must have happened there, because he went crashing into the wall coming out of the source. So I think he's probably been involved in an incident.
Hopefully safety car should be in this lap. Everyone is bunched up behind the leader.
Epic OJ will be raring to go as well.
Yeah, the longer you leave probably the safety car out for, the better it will actually be for Epic's rivals. Especially Mirko, Reese, Kars, Abden and Sander in the top 8. Because that's just one less lap they have to run on those hards, the less of a chance they burn down to the knife edge, as we are going to find out with time as whether or not we will see another lap under the green Aston Martin Aramco safety car, or if we can finally go back racing here in Spa.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we can get back to the racing. I think the safety car should be in at the end of this lap. It is. So the drivers will get us back underway. It will be Reese, the championship leader, that will get us back underway with the championship runner-up at the moment, that is Epic OJ, the contender. And you know what, I'm thinking about it, Reese, Epic OJ, Aspect and Deadly, I'm sure it's back how it started at the start of this race. I might be wrong. Was it Cars in there? I'm not sure, but I know it's the top 3. Ah, right.
Yeah. Yeah, top 3 still how it was. Mirko down 1 and Deadly up 2, I think it was, with Cars also down 1. However, Reese left to determine when to go underway. Surely he'd do it now. Or is it too unpredictable? Leaving it late, and now he goes as Deadly getting 10 seconds for collision with Aspect as they go all racing up towards turn 1. Deadly to the outside of the Red Bull, trying to send it the long way, manages to just miss out on that. Mirko trying to capitalise it now and reset that top 4 almost as if it's lap 1 all over again. Up through Rajon de la Rouge, the Hassan and Williams going wheel to wheel, getting so close. I think they kissed wheels once or twice through the process, but Mirko is up to P4. Does Deadly have the top speed? They've boxed cars in. The Sauber getting nowhere as Aspect to the inside of Epic. The Red Bull versus the Sauber. The Sauber goes off the road, has to yield the place, but they are not going to yield. And pushed off in Malmedy. That is Aspect to second. Mirko to the inside for Bruxelles. Is it going to be third for Mirko now? He's already gained a place on this restart. They're banging rules with Epic as yellow flags just delayed, not coming back up. As off goes Sander, the Ferrari, into the wall. Edward off as well and rejoining. Sander retiring from the session. More havoc here in Spa-Francorchamps as the action is not quite done there. As Tinkto versus Abden got very close for a second, but the Alpine will lead the two of them round for a while longer.
Yeah, wow, that was incredible from you there, Harry. Amazing stuff on board with the drivers, and Epic OJ has found himself 2 seconds behind Reese. 2 seconds behind Reese. He's found him there as we go down in towards the bus stop chicane, but incredible stuff. That is Gale that is through. That is Thomas on Jinkto, the Aston Martin going wheel to wheel with the McLaren through the bus stop chicane out of turn 19, but here comes B. Wright picking up the scraps as we go down in towards La Source. The Racing Bull is up to P9. He's come back from nowhere. He's doing the same as what he did in Singapore. Jinkto clips the wall there, loses a few places. Epic OJ is not a fan of Aspect and Mirko here. He has lost a tremendous amount of time to restart, and considering he knows he's got the speed, this will be highly frustrating for the championship contender.
Yeah, be right to the inside on Abaddon, and that is the Racing Bull. More than anything, a charging bull now, as they are desperately charging through the field on those mediums. They probably are aware that they're looking at a possible 2. The mediums probably won't go another 8 laps. If they manage it, that is amazing tyre saving. It's not impossible. It just means they will be walking on a tightrope come the end of this race. One wrong step and they'll just go falling down the field with a likely puncture, but Pulse Luxury on the back of cars, hoping to put one less car between him and first with a move up into 6th from P7, but be right putting the pressure on as well. He's gained about half a second in that middle sector alone on the rest of these lot. So it's all starting to heat up and the laps starting to diminish one by one. As every corner goes, we get one less corner away from the end. A very Will Buxton-esque quote on my behalf.
Oh, well played.
We enter lap 15.
So into lap 15 we go. 8 laps remaining here in Spa. Epic OJ needs to get through an Aspect and start chasing down that Racing Bull. Or there goes Gale and Thomas. The Aston Martin and the Alpine. There is yellow flags waving once again. That is a House of XT Storms that has had a collision with Edward in the Papaya. Gale is going to come back from P11 all over the back of the Aston Martin, moves to the left hand side, and Thomas in the Aston is down to P11. Here comes the Alpine of Gale on his teammate. Epic OJ cannot get through on the Red Bull. There goes Pulse Luxury and the Ferrari on cars. What about B Right on their medium compound tyres? Then you've got the Aston Martin of Thomas, who raises his hand as the Alpine is demoted back down to P12, and Jinkto will come through wheel to wheel, and the Papaya pushing his way into P11.
Yeah, Grovan and Abaddon now going wheel to wheel through Speaker's corner. And Grovan definitely did have some words to say as they started throwing some gravel at the Alpine in an attempt to defend. Unfortunately, the Alpine was able to take P12. The battle continuing into the fast chicane, the Silver Arrow darting to the inside. Whether or not they'll hit the bullseye, we are about to find out as it gets so close. And the Mercedes has to back down for the time being. As one thing to note, since the restart, Edward has been involved in both incidents that we have spotted. So bear that in mind with those other drivers possibly being at risk from meeting Edward once more, as Grovan making it round 3 on the same lap to the outside of the bus stop chicane on entry, locking up that front left. The Alpine having to try and find a switch back, and instead big snap of oversteer, and they are going to have to take defeat this time round.
Yeah, it was a great little battle up between the Mercedes and the Alpine. Could the Alpine have left the Mercedes a little bit of space around turn 10? Probably. But it was still a great exchange. What about Deadly now? Epic OJ is going to get DRS on Aspect, but he cannot close the gap again. And Deadly on Mirko. What about Cars on Pulse Luxury and B Right as well? He looks for a way around the outside. He can't get it. Pulse Luxury locks wheels. That is Thomas back through on Gale, and Jinkto wants a piece of the action. Jinkto has been amazing since joining the grid alongside Ivan. Here comes the McLaren out of turn 7 down towards turn 8. The Alpine goes deep, and Jinkto is going to capitalise on a slight mistake. No, Gale holds on. Great racing between these two once again as we head towards Pujon. But have a look at Epic OJ. The gap now 2/10 of a second to Aspect, but they are 2.3 seconds behind the leader of Reese. And I tell you what, Reese has got a gap that he will be very pleased with at this point in the race.
Yeah, Reese will be happy, as I believe that was Luxury having a big snap, now dropping behind B Right. I was going to say, was it B Right having that big snap? But no, he was the one to gain benefit from it all. As Deadly, again, really close to Mirko as they go through the bus stop chicane, probably about 30 thousandths closer than it was last lap. And now using that DRS up towards turn 1, trying to give him the best shot at going at it into the Kemble Straight as Abaddon into the pit lane. He's going from hard for a late stop, probably to another set of mediums. This tracks back to what I said about possible 2. Is that on the cards for the majority of these drivers? As Epic to the inside of Aspect and through into second place.
This is where Epic OJ wants to be. Remember, his tyres are 1 lap fresher. It won't make a massive difference, but when the lap is around 1:40, he will get opportunities, especially around a circuit like Spa. And there goes Jinkto and Gravangan shuts the door on Jinkto, who goes slamming into the wall, and he's got damage on that front wing. And you've got to feel for Jinkto there, because he left a lot of space for Gravangan. And a really unfortunate collision that. Remember, the top 15 do finish in at the points. Epic OJ only 1.3 behind Reese. He's already built a 1 second gap to Aspect. The chase is on between the two championship rivals.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the wire, but this is where Reese's 1 lap older hard. That's where he kind of wanted that extra lap of a safety car, because it would give him an extra lap of life compared to Epic. But unfortunately that didn't come round, and now the Sauber in the green machine, hoping to pursue after the Racing Bulls and prevent them from getting their 5th win of the season, as there's a big lock up into the source. Had to make a correction and a half there, and therefore they are dropping as Storms has had a big offing in the bus stop chicane, doing a 360 and then another 520 to get himself back on track as Jinkto into the pit lane in the Papaya. Is there going to be a move for Aspect? He's a bit too far back from Epic to cause any harm.
Yeah, so Reese still leading. 1.3 is the gap, and there goes B Right into P6. He is through on Cars, and remember, these are in a massive constructors battle between the Saubers and the Racing Bulls. That could be a huge overtake. However, B Right does have a time penalty that could potentially get removed. Who knows? so we'll take it on face value at the moment. Be right in front of Cars and Reese in front of Epic OJ. This is massive in terms of the constructors. That is a yellow flag, and that is Jinto that is out. He actually retired on the way out of the pit lane, but his car will disappear shortly. Really unfortunate for Jinto. That is a bad on 4, picking up a 3-second time penalty. Epic OJ has got that 1 second gap now to Aspect back, and the gap to the leader 1.4 with 4.5 laps to go here in Spa. Will Epic OJ get the opportunity to overtake Reese?
I think there may be an opportunity, but if it is to come, it will have to be before lap 20 that this Sauber breaks into DRS, gives them 2 laps of proper attempts to do it. But last time round, Reese found 0.2 of a second on the Sauber. Yes, 0.2 isn't a lot, but in a race where it's so nip and tuck, it's going to be every last thing. This could be the difference between Reese taking 30 and Reese taking 25 points home, as Epic finding a lot as they climbed up the hill, and then it usually ends up being where it's all downhill. Reese finds the time back. So, will Epic be able to maintain the advantage he's gained this lap so far?
And there goes Gravangan on Thomas, the Mercedes through on the Aston Martin. But yeah, you can see the lap times from Epic to Reese and Aspect, and you can see that you're absolutely right, Harry. Reese does have a better Sector 2 time. He usually gains around 2.5 tenths through Sector 2. So you called it as you see it, and once again the gap just dwindling away. He got closer, and then he's so good through that middle sector is Reese. So we need to see how he's going to be able to bring him and claw him back. Here we go through Sector 3. This is where the Sauber starts to find his mojo, and if he can get within that 1 second, we might just see the lead change hands before the end of this race. We have 3 and a bit laps to go as we head down in towards the bus stop chicane. Having a look at the batteries, Epic OJ on 20%, Reese on 12%. It is extremely close. The gap is now 1.4, 1.3. The chase is on. Aspect is out of it, but he is still on for a podium, but he has to defend against Mirko, and that is not going to be an easy task here in Spa. Mirko only 0.8 of a second behind behind Aspect. Then you've got Deadly and B Right, who have both got time penalties. Then comes Cars, Pulse Luxury, Gravangan and Thomas. Epic OJ now only 1.2 behind Reese, but we know how strong Reese is in the middle sector.
Yeah, Reese is insanely strong, as there's Deadly versus Mirko. Nice and easy move for the Williams drivers. Cars also pulling off a rather easy one on B Right. 2 simple swaps for 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th in this race, whilst Epic still trying to close in. However, this lap has looked better than any others. He's found about 0.2 in the first sector. He even dropped it to 1.1 seconds for a brief moment. Then Reese just started to put the foot to the floor through the middle sector, and that's where the advantage grows again. But Epic doing all he can, a stellar job at keeping it as low as possible, because next lap is your penultimate lap, and that means time is pretty much up for Epic's hopes at this race win, unless he can get into that DRS range come the end of the lap, as the gap still 1.2, could be 1.1, as Deadly trying to make a move on an Aspect as well in the Red Bull, which is not ideal for their bid at a podium, because it only means Mirko is starting to enter centre frame here.
Yeah, so we are on the penultimate lap of this Belgian Grand Prix. Aspect is holding on to a podium. He will like the fact that Deadly and Mirko were going toe to toe. It probably helps him out slightly. Epic OJ, who is second in the Drivers' Championship, to Reese, who is leading the Drivers' Championship, who are 1-2 here in Belgium. Here comes Deadly. He's going to try and take the podium away from Aspect. I don't think Aspect needs to fight Deadly here. He's got that time penalty. I think the Red Bull just needs to stay with the Williams and use him as a bit of a tow to stay ahead of Mirko, who hasn't got a time penalty. Aspect has got to be clever about this. Stick with the Williams, stay in the slipstream, take the DRS and stay in front of the Haas and get on them top 3 steps. Epic OJ is within a second. He's going to get DRS on the last lap. Oh my God, Mirko in the Haas has made a huge mistake and he's dropped well out of the picture.
Yeah, took the curb on the entry of Speaker's Corner, just went flying straight off into the wall. Had a little tank slapper and definitely a knock of his confidence, but that's great for Sauber. Cars now half a second off on the Haas, as the Haas carrying front right end plate damage in this race.
Epic OJ's made a mistake, Harry.
And now that will definitely bring Reese safely home, I'd say.
I think you're right, Harry. Yeah, I cannot believe he's just thrown it all away. Here comes Aspect. But Epic OJ clawed his way back within a second of Reese. He made a slight mistake and Reese might be safe.
B-Right's just sent it on both cars and Mirko. As that sounds quite awkward, saying both cars and Mirko. That just does not flow off the tongue too well, but B-Right to the inside. Doesn't manage to get both of those cars, as Mirko managing to hold on with a missing front wing, and now, as that racing calls, has split the Haas and the Sauber. Looks unlikely that the Sauber can get to top 5 here today. Would be amazing if they could, but they'll use the RS to try all they can to give themselves a shot. They aren't going to send it on Mirko, being wise with it, as Reese, I think, has also made an error, because now the gap is a second. The Racing Bulls very much skidding through the corners.
Wow.
It's so uncomfortable in that lead vehicle. Made about 2 minor corrections through Pouon on its own just to keep it in the right direction, as Epic OJ now putting that pressure on. There's a sector to determine it. Is it going to be a Sauber or a Racing Bulls on top step? They're both going to the absolute maximum in terms of track width, and it's all a top speed sector, which typically Epic does better in. But you can see Reese deploying all the battery they have left, and it does look like he will not be beaten today.
Yeah, Reese has managed to stay ahead. It's been a great strategy, and that is Mirko moving out of the way. But here comes Reese to come through and extend his gap in the championship and win the Belgium Grand Prix. Epic OJ takes P2. It will be Aspect on the podium that takes P3. Deadly in P4. Cars is going to take P5. It is going to be B-Right in P6. Mirko will take it off him in P6. B-Right in P7. Pulse Luxury takes P9 as Gravangan takes P8. Wow, Thomas and Gale, a huge battle to the line. A bit of a tasty one as well. But Reese has won here in Belgium. Epic OJ will be kicking himself because he knows that he could have got more out of this race. 22 laps.
Definitely. 22 laps. I don't think I'll ever get back. But yeah. 22 laps I quite thoroughly enjoyed, as Abaddon almost finding the wall over the line. As Reese, of course, as you said, picks up another win, his 5th of the season, denied the Sauber of a 3rd, which is a shame to say the least, especially knowing he was the quicker man. He got pole, he won the sprint, he then got pole again, and it all just fell apart from there. Strategy somewhat played influence, as you can see the drivers now stepping on the podium.
Yeah, on the podium for the Belgian Grand Prix, as they celebrate the Racing Bull. Some big points for the RBs and some big points for Reese in that Drivers' Championship. So let's go through the final standings. It is Reese that takes the race victory in the feature race. Epic OJ takes P2, Aspect on the podium in P3. Then comes Cars in P4 and Deadly in P5. Mirko will take P6 and B-Right takes P7. Gravangan will take P8, Pulse Luxury in P9, and Thomas on his debut takes P10. Edward will take P11, Gale in P12, Jeffy in P13, XD Storms in P14, Abaddon 4 will take P15, Jigto in P16, Sander in P17, Evan in P18, and Pro Ultra in P19. Harry, because it's your first time joining me, I will let you pick driver of the day.
Oh, the pressure's on. It's so awkward because for the sprint, I think it has to go Jeffy Boy. But in the main race, which is what it matters most, I would have said Grove Engine for most places, but I do think it has to be Polestar Luxury. The strategy, the 12 laps on the mediums as well, a core selling point for me. It's going to have to be that Ferrari. That takes my drive of day vote.
So, Pulse Luxury with your driver of the day. And then I think it was Jeffy for the sprint. So, Jeffy for the sprint and Pulse Luxury for the race. Yes, Reese, we can do some quick interviews. Absolutely. Come on. So I will jump into the interview room. I think you can. Oh, actually, no, sorry. If you want to join Harry, it is the interview room under the driver information. There's a bit called driver. Oh, you're on PlayStation, so I don't know if you can find it.
No, join it through thingy, but I can't even access that channel.
Oh, let me sort that out for you.
You can just move me along.
Oh yeah, let me check it because I'd like you to join, but it's up to you if you want to join.
Yeah, I'll gladly hop in.
Right, brilliant. Commentary team, there we go. Right, view channel. You should be able to see the channel now.
Yeah, I can see it now.
Brilliant.
Cool.
So here we are into the driver interviews. Can you hear me, Harry?
Yeah, I can hear you, unless my hearing's playing up.
Yeah, I can hear you. That's fantastic. So we are going to start off with your P3 driver, that is Thomas Varkish, Aspect in the Red Bull. Thomas, talk us through that race, mate. That was a brilliant drive. You've been waiting for that podium. You finally got it, and it was a cracker.
I have been waiting so long. Oh, like especially after last week, I wanted to stop, and I'm just like very happy I finally got it, and just I'm actually smiling my ass off, to be fair. But it was very good. Like the safety car restart was amazing. I had a little bit of a bump with Epic, so I don't know how long this is gonna last, but I'm just kind of happy I've got my P3, and I've shown that I can actually be on the pace.
Oh, you completely on the pace tonight. You were brilliant, and some of the battling as well. You were going wheel to wheel. You were side by side. You were leaving the space. They were leaving the space. Especially every time you went into Les Comms, you didn't get it easy. And then obviously your strategy near the end, when Deadly went past, he had that penalty. Was the strategy just to stay behind at that point?
Nah, I wanted to overtake him because I didn't know if he was gonna get it removed, so I thought it's better to try keep with him and overtake him. But into turn one, I had a snap where I was full opposite lock, so I lost the gap and I didn't have the battery to keep close.
Ah, right. So you would have gone for the overtake. That just tells us what kind of driver that you are. That you're willing to still go for that opportunity. You've had a little bit of bad luck, Thomas, especially in the races leading up to this, as you mentioned last week as well. It was just not going your way. It went completely your way tonight. You've shown the pace in qualifying and in the race as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think like when I'm in a good mindset and it kind of helps. I've had like a good day as well.
Yeah.
I can help fight and get close. I came into I wasn't very positive coming into Belgium because I was literally asking people to give me help from other places because I was just so off the pace. And then I come into quali, I'm P3 in the sprint and P3 in the main race.
Yeah,
Just like,
brilliant.
but in previous weekends, it's like in Saudi, I was supposed to probably get a podium, and then it just kind of got ruined by a Sauber in the sprint, and then the main race I messed up the strategy.
Yeah, it just sort of comes when you don't expect it. Harry, do you want to chip in anywhere and say anything about the
Yeah.
race?
First of all, well done on that podium, thoroughly deserved. Seen you in so many leagues, and I think that was a hard-earned podium. But in the sprint race, you had a fairly awkward start, to say the least. You worked your way downfield. What was going through your mind, especially when it was trying to rectify this slightly weaker start?
Oh, so I was so annoyed. I was like, I got tapped from the back, and then it ended up I had a Sauber coming across me, forcing someone on a sausage curb on the outside to go off. So I kind of got sandwiched, and then I lost a lot more time, and I just couldn't really fix it. It was just like the car didn't feel proper, and then my pedals weren't feeling decent as well. So
Yeah, completely understandable. I'm probably going to end up asking both Thomas and Reese this at some point, but do you have any inkling on what actually happened on that race start behind you, or was it just focus on Epic and your own races?
what is this the sprint still?
No, main race.
Oh, well, on my game, the lights went out really quick, and I wasn't expecting it. I was more like I was keeping an eye on my roads because I know which one's good to get a good start, and then it just went. So I was just kind of a bit
Yeah.
cooked.
Well, in the meantime, I think Nathan and I both started shouting at the mics as we ended up seeing about a 7 car wreckage in the
Yeah.
background as you were racing up the hill, almost as if you weren't acknowledging it. But yeah,
Well, for the rest of my season now, I've got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Like the top two guys have everything to lose. They've got a championship to fight, but that's not my problem. And it's in a respectful manner. I've had problems with Reese. I've had problems with Epic. But at the end of the day, it's my race. I'm not fighting for a title. I'm just here to salvage this season from a poor start.
Yeah, just pick
completely.
up podiums, pick up race victories, Thomas, and you did exactly that tonight. And as you said, you've got nothing to lose. So we seen you battling with Epic OJ. We've seen you battling with Reese. You're not afraid to go toe to toe with these guys. It was an incredible race from you. And a brilliant, well-deserved podium, and it's about time we seen you on that podium. So well done, Thomas.
Thanks.
So there you have it. So Thomas Varkish is your P3 driver. We move on to your race winner. Epic OJ isn't here, so I will let you start us off, Harry, with Reese, your race winner.
Yeah, first of all, well done. Great win. It, it almost looked like it was a weekend you deserve to lose, especially with the start of the sprint and that. How you worked your way backwards in sprint race after being out qualified by your title rival and then being out qualified again in the main race. But you managed to drive so maturely and confidently for the remainder of the event and managed to salvage what I think is quite an impressive win. It only ended up being a second come the end. But when you pitted um, for the hards and then the safety car came out the following lap, was there any consideration of an alternate strategy, maybe a two stop, or even pitting again onto mediums? Or was it just trying to get to the end?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, with with the sprint quali, I put on a wet setup because obviously I saw the weather, seeing it to be full wet. So yeah, obviously it wasn't ideal qualifying P2, but I knew by the sector times that Epic had way lower wings compared to me. The sprint didn't go how I wanted it to go, but that is what it is. Still kept free P3. I didn't have a massive points loss to Epic. But yeah, in terms of the main race, the strategy was always going to be a one stop. Um, I mean, it was a race winning move, but when I come out the pits and there was an Aston Martin in front of me, I had to get that move done through the DRS, and if I didn't get in front of him, I would have been I don't know what position it was, like P5 or P6 maybe alongside Merker and Deadly, who pitted one lap before that. So yeah, that move there just before the safety car come out was really instrumental to my race.
Yeah, completely agree. Nathan, you got anything to bring up?
Yeah, I mean, I know how good that you are, Reese, and I think it can be very easy to just assume that you're going to win the race. And I think Epic OJ sort of took it to you this season. And I think everybody needed reminding tonight that you don't just go out there and qualify in pole position and win the race every week. Sometimes you've got to take it to them, and you've got to turn up and win the race. And I feel like you did that tonight because you didn't qualify on pole both times. You were behind Epic OJ, but you drove a dominant race. You finished a second ahead of Epic OJ. Your strategy was perfect. And when he was catching up to you, you never let the pressure off. So was there at any point did you think that Epic OJ was going to catch you, or were you that confident in your ability to get to the line?
Yeah, I mean, well, a big focus has been on my race pace as of the last few weeks. Obviously, I've had a bit of sort of mishap with sort of race wins and podiums. I've fallen short a couple times. Some due to no fault of my own, like Monza as well, getting a punch on the final lap. I would have won that race. Things like that. But these things happen in a long season. So yeah, big focus has been on my race pace, and I think that paid off today. And I think the one thing I have over Epic is that I've been in these championship fights. I mean, I've proven that I can take the fight to Ben when I'm 100 points back in realistic 2 seasons ago. I
Yeah,
took the fight to Ben all the way up to the last three races of the season before. So I can. It is not just about getting on pole for me and then just driving off. I can take the races to these boys when they want to show up, and Epic has shown up all of this season, and every time I've collapsed, he's stood up on it, and he's taken advantage of it. Like, I had I believe a 60-point gap at one point, and the gap was 1 point two races ago, I believe. So yeah, to have like the 20-point cushion now after this race win, obviously last week, it's a great feeling, and I'm positive for the championship ahead.
yeah. So you and Epic OJ, very well said, by the way, Reese. Very well said. You and Epic OJ are separated now by 13 points, with you winning that race. You have 5 race wins. He has 2. You have 2 P2s. He has 4. You both have a P3 each, only one. You have 6 pole positions. He has 4. You two have been incredible this season, neck and neck all season long. And whenever he's brought it to you, you've responded just how a champion does. You've won the championship before, you've done it in season 10. Epic OJ is yet to win a championship, so he's going to be bidding to win his first. And you're essentially doing what B Wright's done in the past, and having to come back and show that you have got that championship mentality. You haven't just won it once and that's it. You do want to win it again, and it's great to see that attitude, that hunger, and I cannot wait to see what the rest of the season holds for you and Epic OJ and for this championship. It's been a brilliant battle. Your side-by-side racing was amazing tonight. Your strategy was incredible, and me and Harry were just in awe. So well done on a brilliant performance and a magical race win, Reese.
Yeah, cheers, Nathan. Thank you. Big words, and it was a big night for me. Had some terrible news yesterday. My great grandfather passed away of cancer, so it was really lovely to get this win. I know no one from my family um watches these races, but it's a big thing to me. So
I'm
that
so
also
sorry
means
to
a
hear
lot.
that,
Mm,
Reese, and thinking of
No,
you and the family, and to dedicate that to your great grandfather as well.
yeah, I
Condolences
appreciate it,
your
mate.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to, get this win in the fashion that I did as well. But yeah, I just want to say thank you to you two on comms. You were brilliant tonight. So thank you.
Cheers, Reese. Really appreciate that, mate, and take care of yourself.
Yeah, have a good one. Wish you all the best. Of course, condolences your way, but that is a drive that pretty much turns around to me and says, you're willing to do it in any circumstance, no matter what's going on. And that is something a champion needs to have. So yeah, best of wishes for you.
Yeah, well done, Reese. So there you have it, your race winner, Reese, and condolences to him, and well done to him to dedicate that win to his great grandfather. He would be absolutely proud of that performance. Yes, it's only sim racing. Yes, we all do it for fun. Yes, it's only a game. But when you've put blood, sweat, and tears into racing online, into sim racing, and you come out on top like that, it is well deserved, isn't it, Harry?
Yeah, thoroughly is. I've won 4 league titles, but I've never been able to do it in them methods as such, or under those circumstances. Yeah.
So you know how it feels.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is it from us. I really appreciate you guys tuning in and watching us. The stream was amazing. The fans were incredible. Thank you all so much for all the follows, all the likes, and everybody watching at home. And I want to say a massive thank you to you, Harry, as well, for joining me. We used to do PSGL together. I used to love doing commentary with you on a Monday night. So for you to jump in tonight and join me in the commentary box here at F7R, I'm genuinely honoured. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for actually having me. More than anything, yeah, of course, we did PSGL for, I don't know, 6 races.
Yeah.
And kind of today, taking it back to where it all started with Spa. Sentimental is a good way to explain it.
Yeah.
But also, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. My Sundays are looking freer and freer for weeks to come. So hopefully, I can hop in and out every other week or whatever and be alongside you
Well,
for
you are
possibly a
welcome
more
here.
permanent
Yeah.
fixture if need be.
Well, you are
So,
welcome here whenever you want. Whenever you are free, you let me know, and you are welcome here. But yeah, thank you all so much, guys. I have been your commentator. Harry has been your co-commentator. Thank you, everybody, and I'll see you on the next one.
have a good one.